Greetings, Summoners. Cosmic here, and welcome back to another Battle Spirit Saga video. And today, I gotta give a huge shout out to Aspira, who was able to get us the top list from the Grand Open this weekend. Obviously, he went down, did well himself, but was kind enough to keep everybody else in the loop. And of course, to all the other players who traveled in, I hope you get back safe today, and I hope that you had a wonderful time. I did hear the event ran extremely well, so that's awesome to hear. And we have a lot of different decks to talk about today, you can see. And then also, the Play TCG webcam event was this weekend, which, by the way, a Nova deck made top 4, and it's pretty spicy, but I haven't finished putting all those lists together yet, so please look forward to that. I'm going to try to do like a double update today just to try to get everything out because I'm off site for work tomorrow and Wednesday. So yes, there's gonna be a couple videos dropping today, then a little bit of a lull, but I'm hoping to interview the champion himself, Alex Blandon, who has done well in Force of Will and other card games, very active in the community Discord for Battle Spirits. If you haven't joined our community Discord already, there's a link in the comments. But yes, Pterosaurs ended up winning the event and continues to do very, very well. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the same exact main deck 50 card that was posted like over a month ago. Like, they have just not changed it. So I gotta give a shout out to the True Duelist team who kind of put Rex on the map way back at the launch event. And obviously they've continued to do well with it because it is a very good deck. And to some people, you might say the best deck in the format. For me personally, it's definitely between the Rex deck and some purple mid-range pile, as I'm just going to call it, or purple good stuff, right? It has a bunch of different names, depending on what card game background you come from, but I think those are like the two best decks for set 1, and then of course I'm going to try to sneak in yellow and white and some other decks there. But let's talk about the overall deck itself, and really some of the sideboard considerations that we see here. So for those who maybe don't know or have not seen the Rex deck yet, generally speaking, it is just a low to the ground red deck that utilizes Gigano Rex to give a 3,000 power boost, big boosted to the entire board, and has Confront himself. So the way that this deck can often play out is a very early Gigano Rex can come down, control the board through its Confront ability, and thanks to that power boost, the rest of your team is going to dodge removal and obviously trade up as well if they try to block. So when you combine that with Scorched Battlefield with your Threatening Draws or Volcanic Canyon to help you dig for more Gigano Rexes, just to make your board even bigger to get through white control, it does have the means to go the distance. Obviously, Star Blessed Draw, the key draw card of choice, because it's very, very good against purple and a lot of the when summoned cards, spirits we've been seeing being played in the current meta. And then Suppression. This is the one I think is like the one flex spot. I think everything else in this list is the same except for one Suppression. I think some people have done like one Suppression, one Dream Bomb. I know some people have gone to 2 Dream Bombs because of Maduke being way more in the meta as of late, and obviously has been seeing a lot more play. But I think those ultimately come down to flex choices. Then we have the Flame Fish for the aggro. We have Andromeda, which is just very good against purple, really saying, I do not want you to have any Nexus cards. Durm Dyna, he is that guy, as we like to say, right? Just giving that unblockable damage. Then, of course, Dream Bombs, Volcanic, Battlefield kind of running out. The other one that's interesting is the Counter Sword, which gives you the ability to top deck any spirit after they play a when summon, which can have a variety of applications. And I'm very curious to see exactly what matchups he brought that in. So we will begin talking to him later in the week. We have another episode on the Champions Corner, I guess is what we're going to call it, where we talk with the champions from each one of these Grand Open events, talk about their thoughts on the event, the meta overall, and kind of why they play the deck. So please look forward to that video if you want to catch it later this week. And kind of you'll notice the jump here, but for the event itself, top 4 was all Gigano Rex. It was all Rex as far as you guys could see. So as a reminder, as we're doing these videos, it's really just meant to be what was the highest placing list or archetype for each list, right? And then kind of go through the rest. So I do want to give a shout out to Eggman, who will have these on his website by the time this video goes live. I'll have a link to that in the pinned post. So definitely if you want to see these like in list form or the copy paste for text, and so you can try them on Tabletop Simulator or something, that's going to be all on the BSS Dev website, which you can also access through Eggman's link. So again, I'll have that down below for those that want to see the rest of the list. So going into the other, we jump immediately to top 8, right? So again, top 4 is all Rex. And we have Juan here who made it with a purple mid-range. And I really want to call out 2 things in particular, right? So we see a lot of purple decks that are very close to either mid-range or control, which is really going to boil down to some telltale signs with like Maduke, Black Lance, Obviously, the Mummy Fan here, just being a vanilla good blocker, you can kind of ramp out, really sealing the deal on making this more mid-range and focus, because you want to make sure you establish that, lower the curve ground game instead of things like, Mummy Mura, Stray Soul, which are just, leave a body up on blocker while stripping a core. You have obviously the 4-4 Curse Dragon and Dark Bishop combo, which is going to board clear for you. So otherwise, we do see stuff like Core Drain, just very good. Deadly Balance, just very good. Burning Force, just very good right now, right? So in terms of the meta overall and kind of where set 2 spoilers are going, I'm really looking forward to seeing how these two lists kind of separate themselves in the next set, right? We're going to have the Self-Mill in set 2. We're going to have the Self-Destruction or Aristocrats in set 2. And then obviously we're going to have some kind of core control that remains in set 2. So there's going to be a lot of purple decks that kind of spread out from this point. And, this is just a problem with set 1 meta. There is a limited card pool, right? There's not too much you can do. Like, Belgor is just really good. Like, what else can you say, right? Like, everybody wants Belgor. The card slaps, right? So that kind of, shifts the focus on, okay, if we'll play in Belgor, we got to play some 4 and 5s. Well, what are the best 4 and 5s to play? Oh, it's Cavalier and Mordred, right? So that kind of, self-builds the purple decks right now, where we're not going to see as much expression until we get a deeper card pool, which is understandable, but obviously it's still a very, very good list. So again, kudos to top 8 and again to all the players who made top 16 for this cut, but just a very solid purple mid-range. And like, my 2 cents on the matter is I personally believe that Black Lance is the best focus point going forward for purple. That card is just great, so that's why I personally put a couple percentage points over the full-on control builds, because Black Lance is that must-play card in my sincerest opinion. So if you're going to Ohio, and if you haven't already, this is me just telling you straight up, Black Lance is cracked. You got to play that card. It does everything that you need it to do. He is that guy, and now that we're seeing Maduk coming back as well, it's just even better. So not surprised to see 4 Black Lance here in the top finishing purple list. Obviously, there's some other ones in top 8, but I really do think that Black Lance is the key to success here. Moving on from there into our other list for top 8, we have Wakun with the Elk, Enterprise, Elephant Control style of deck. We have some Rocket City for some disruption. So this really just falls more into your traditional white controlled lists, right? So we have seen a couple other lists here that favor more of like Axe Spider and Turbo Rex and Odin's, right? Really trying to like shift that curve down a little bit, and then just having like Derm Dyna Elephant at the top end, where this one still wants to try to control the game through Enterprise and Elk to get the burn damage, which you haven't seen it already. The alternate arts from the store champs for Elk are just absolutely beautiful. And I guess the one kind of other key difference that we see here from other traditional lists is the Valkyrie Mist getting to be in the main deck, which is just a great way to give yourself a blocker, bounce a threat, especially against some of like the Fabled Beast lists. Like if you can bounce an Alice, that feels really good. Obviously, it's less effective against red if they can just redeploy that, say, that Bearded Eagle. But there are still some other threats and other things that line up where just sometimes being able to bounce something and go for a game, right? It's very great to use it as an offensive option as well, or just hopefully something that maybe help you stall out a turn, still have a blocker, and then maybe on your next turn you can more successfully or not have to stress about deploying that elephant as much. So really do like Valkyrie Mist here as well, just for kind of how the meta has been shaking up, and just bouncing 7 or less being very, very good right now, especially in the, sort of mirror matches, right? If you expect your opponent to be playing an Elk, getting to Valkyrie Mist, that is going to feel amazing for swinging the game back in your favor if you will have a decent follow-up. So Starblessed Draw giving you the extra, draw, as it would say. Burning Force still caring about Nexus, and also just, right, having that 3,000 burn can be so, so important for the white control decks to set up. But obviously mostly here going to be for Nexus removal. In a lot of cases, because it is so easy to play around Burning Force from a spirit perspective, but otherwise, very solid. Getting into our sideboard options, pretty standard here as well. The Fula to help against the core removal, Snowflocking for the curse decks. Turbo Rex is just, that card's a house right now, right? So much disruption that it offers against yellow. I just cannot stress that enough. Enterprise, Derm Dyna, extra copies. The one interesting point is the Ice Maiden, which has armor, purple, yellow, but only goes up to 4K. So I'm really curious to see how much, that has really helped out with. Like a 2K for 4 is nice. Because it can protect you against angelic pressure. And also if you have the Rocket City, it can go up to 5K, which is a good number to hit against a lot of the yellow decks. But I don't think that's good enough, and it still has the same problem as Axe Spider. where, you know, it's still gonna be that double exhaust Nexus play. And if it costs 2 core, I'd rather go up to the secondary effect of Axe Spider. So again, this might have been a thing where they just didn't have Axe Spider and they're trying to find, you know, a card that can fill that slot. And that's very much a real possibility. But I think that this is one where we'd see more Axe Spider in future builds if we see someone trying to take white control and kind of adopt the playstyle from this particular list. Moving on from there, I feel like I had to call this one out, or I would have gotten so many comments against it. So Franco, I believe is how you pronounce it. So again, apologize. I'm probably butchering a lot of these names, with the purple hippo list. So at quick glance, right, it is very much meant to be a control list because you have the full combo. You have Nemesis, which is not going to have as easy as a time coming online just yet compared to like the 0 drops and some of the other effects that we're going to see in like EX01 and set 2. Really going to rely heavily on that Bishop and Curse Dragon combo. And Hippocampo can gain you a life and get you there, right? Like it's life plus stall, plus it's still a 4K. Obviously, splashing 3 cost is fine. In a lot of these other decks, we have the Peggy as well, just to try to give you some more blocking options. And you know, Rotting Swamp and Nemesis combo will be one of my favorites. So it's weird because like you have the Nemesis and Rotting Swamp mid-range, like very, very mid-range core. Then you have the Bishop Curse Dragon combo for the more controlling side with the Belgors and, you know, having the rest like Mordred or Spider Demon. And then you have the Hippo that's just going to get you the value there. So I really would have loved to have seen the look on people's faces when it's like, okay, you know, turn 1 Rotting Swamp, go ahead, hit me. Oh, by the way, Hippocampo you back. What? Like just the back and forth that probably would have created would have been really, really, really funny. So this one, I don't have too much more to say other than that. I love the Turbo Rex transition plan out of the sideboard, right? If you know that they have... like if you're fearing the yellow matchup, I guess it's really good for that. And just kind of the early game disruption you can have. Like, man, Turbo Rex just eating your board alive, bouncing something against yellow, especially when a lot of your stuff with the Fabled Beast side costs 2 cores to replay. Maybe they have, like, going back to the Dream Blizzard list, you're bouncing all your Nexus. Like, just feels so bad to sit across from a Turbo Rex that if you don't answer it quickly, oh, it's bad news for you. And one card I hope to avoid in Ohio personally. So again, not too much more to say about this, but did love to see a purple hippo list make it into the top 8 cut here. So congrats again on this spicy brew. Moving into top 16 now, we have Federico with the Fabled Beast. Now this is where it gets interesting because we're starting to see an evolution of Fabled Beast. I have played Fabled Beast this past weekend, only losing to, well, I guess 1, which is the best of 1, which I still refuse to count that, but only losing this entire past week after, 12 games to the mirror match in the finals of the Store Championship with the God Beast, Fabled Beast. But we're seeing a divide here, right? So we're still seeing this, you're either playing God Beast, which means you're more on this like mid-range, low-to-the-ground plan. You have a bunch of these 2-drops you just want to get in, swing through for damage, get that chip damage, slam a God Beast, make them unblockable, swing for game, right? That's all fine. And then we're seeing this other version of Fabled Beast that's coming online, which is not really Fabled Beast anymore, so much that it is Fabled Beast supporting Alice and some like Bishop and Belgor and what other stuff have we? Derm Dynas, right? There's like a lot of other stuff that has gone into that list where you really get the value out of like Gale Yale, Dual Eagle. You have your Paradises with the full Carbuncle, just getting the 4K bodies on board. And you're playing like Penton, and that's it for your 2-drops, right? So I'm kind of keep going back and forth, right? Depending on where the meta shakes up. I want to play more of an Alice-focused deck, so I'm playing the other version, which I've been working on this past week, and hopefully going to be playing in Ohio. But overall, I think this Fabled Beast list is one that we've seen quite a bit. It's a very solid list. God Beast himself, a lot of times, can just be an 11K vanilla that draws you a card on play. That's fine. An 11K body attacking, especially when you have Angelic Pressure to back it up, they're never killing your God Beast. He's going to keep attacking through, and he's kind of like the Gigano Rex in that regard, right? In the sense that your early game, you're going to be able to chip them down to a low life total that by the time you get to God Beast, it is a, hey, you are blocking this guy because otherwise you're losing life, and he is going to swing over 99% of things, 99.9% of things in the game. And especially then they try to go like, oh, block with Enterprise Suppression. You're like, sorry, God Beast Paradise, Angelic Pressure, get good, right? Like that's that's just how it goes. And then you can usually like follow it up with an Exhaust Nexus and kill some of their other stuff because they just had to pay for the suppression. God Beast, does just chip through damage that way. However, at least with the list that I've been doing, like Alice getting to attack and kill an elk, for example, just feels insanely strong. And there's a lot of, options that you ultimately have in this God Beast deck where I keep talking about, like, there's, yes, a 34, 35 card core, and the rest of what you do with the deck list doesn't matter. You can do the Angelic Pressure Shin Exhaust Nexus combo right at the top end. You can do the God Beast at the top end. You can do the Alice at the top end. You can swap it up and do the, which was a crazy brew, the Elephant, and do like a more pure yellow-white control, which I forgot if I posted that list or not, but it's like, Exhaust Nexus as Alice. You get the Black Jaguar from the TP promo, so you can board wipe and then bottom deck 2 things of your opponents. Very spicy. I love playing it, but I think it was just far too clunky to get online once people know what you're doing. Like, it's a really great surprise factor, and then it's very terrible after that. So we'll see where it goes. And then for sideboard, Valkyrie Miss, Soap Bubble Lakeside for the white matchup, Star Blessed Draw, Burning Force, and Dream Bomb. So only 2 Burning Force main, no Dream Bomb main, which is very interesting with, again, the rise of Maduke and Durb-Dyna and other cards. I think a lot of yellow players are just going, it's either main or it's side, but, having Penton on board, and then especially with a lot of the other lists that have like a white spirit on board, getting to play Dream Bomb for 3 out of this list feels insane. The same way like Penton, Flamefish, Burning Force feels insane. So, I love it. Like, Penton is obviously one of my favorite cards in set 1 for what it allows to happen. Just that spell reduction is very good. It's a 4K body, so it's 6 around. It's a Penton, so it's cute. Like, all around, I just really love that little dude. He does everything he can. And then the last thing I will say on the list for the Dual Eagle himself, I think everyone can agree that this is a 4 of in every yellow list. I think this might have just been, again, access to TP promos might have been an issue. But overall, I think this is like one of the, 2 or 3 variations of God Beast that we're going to continue to see kind of going through until EX01. And then EX01 helps the 2-drop deck, not this one specifically. So we might see a rise in that again. But otherwise, we have a couple variations of Fable Beast, which are just going to go until, well, hey, we see the new yellow spoilers. Going on from there, we have a white mid-range list with the Belgor, the Axe Spiders, the Grey Magar, right, Turbo Rex, and this is really just a very spicy brew when you have like the regain just to recover your stuff. It allows you to push the offensive when you need to. And again, huge shout out to George for giving us all the lists from the event and doing well to get top 16, of course. And it's just something that I like. I'm not sure how I feel, and it's purely, I haven't tested the matchup enough to know which side of this I like more, if it's like the more white mid-range side or the more white control side. But, having Turbo Rex just for that really, really good early disruption into Durb-Dyna just being sticky and unblockable, where, Axe Spider gives you the infinite block potential if you want to. Like, there's just a lot of cool stuff that you can do in white. Obviously, the main drawback is that you don't have draw power, which is why we do see the 3-star Blessed Draws here. And I really just like how this list can make some use out of the Belgor, right? Like, you only need 2 to 3 Belgor in some of these lists. We have the Valkyrie Mist to bring back. We have the Odins, right? That's going to trigger off of it. The Turbo Rex can ascend off of the Belgor for all the value in the possible world. Because, right, a lot of times Belgor is going to come into play. He's going to kill something. And then he's going to sit there for like a turn or two before your opponent like establishes what they want to do. So like just playing Belgor forces your opponent to play the game differently because they don't want to just attack and then let you get immediate value off of it again, right? They have to kind of change up their game plan a little bit. And that gives you exactly enough time to then play the Turbo Rex and have even more disruption towards their game plan. So I really do like this list, but I think, again, that goes just back to I'm happy Turbo Rex finally found a home because he is just very good at what he wants to be doing. And then, of course, like the regain here, just being able to get multiple bounces off Odin, get multiple attacks. Like, it's just such a versatile card out of white that, I definitely struggle with trying to find the right room for it, or like how many counts of it I want to be playing. Like white aggro obviously does all 4. We've seen white mid-range and control lists that play 0 to 2. It's just a very solid card, depending on when you can find those areas to kind of turn that switch and really start to be the aggressor in the matchup. And then, of course, having the 4 elephants on the top end, letting you refresh everything anyways, can create some very frustrating board states for your opponents. You'll notice there's no Enterprise. It's in the sideboard, which is great for the protection side. But a lot of times, right, like you want that Elephant to die, and him getting to ramp you and draw you a bunch of cards is exactly what you want. So I expect that white is still going to be lacking in card draw, other than the X rare that we saw in spoilers. So Elephant will most likely still see a lot of play in this next set, because it is just such a strong white spirit for what it wants to be doing. And of course, the refresh ramp draw, all things that white very much wants to capitalize on. Very solid all around. Moving on from there, speaking of white aggro, we do have Seb's list here with the traditional white aggro package with a little bit of spice. So you'll notice that there is the 4 Elk and 4 Ice Shield combo here, which I'm just going to assume the thought process was open up, get them down to 1 with the traditional white aggro side, eventually draw into an Elk and Ice Shield. And yes, the way the ruling works is that if you have Elk at level 3 and they deal you damage, but you heal it up with Absolute Ice Shield, they still take that point of burn. So there was another white aggro list, which was more of like traditional white aggro that was, from the Vegas events. And obviously we've seen it quite a few times since then. But I want to give a special shout out to this version, which had the Elk and Absolute Ice Shield combo mixed in. And then, every other card is exactly standard for white aggro and what you would expect, right? Just getting those very explosive openers and being able to kill your opponent on turn 2 sometimes is all you need. And I also will say that this is a 55 card main deck, which I had to triple check and definitely took me by surprise. So yes, as a reminder, your main deck can be between 50 and 60 cards. And then with Cyberburning, they have to be an even exchange. So when we get blue and Mill comes into the fold, I definitely expect to see a lot more, 50 plus card decks to round it out. And then the last list that we're going to talk about today for top 16 is Anthony's. I put it as the Axe Spider in the image. It's like Spell Slinger white. It's hard to find a good name to place this. Otherwise, you'll notice that we are very, very low on spirits, which is like, hey, don't see white aggro, I guess, and you're good sort of thing. But it is how much can we abuse Mothership and just have all the good spells to back it up. So playing only 19 spirits, I believe was the count for it, right? We're getting really, really low on that value. But this is one, I think, if you are playing into a meta where people are being a little bit more passive, like not being aggressive enough with those early attackers, this is a very, very good list at punishing them for it. And then just Buffalong Bill being able to bounce 5 or less is so impactful in a lot of matchups that, I'm not surprised to see this was able to go the distance a little bit. And then again, we still have things like Regain. We have Holy Elixir, which is going to be able to untap more stuff. So again, when you have those two early threats, just having armor is really, really important. And so this kind of sparks a discussion for what does this look like for set 2, because we know that white is going to get a lot more of armor, insert color here, cards, right? So there is a world where you get a very, very clear meta call on what you're going to expect, like Gregamar, right? Pro red, pro white, absolutely a staple right now. It's insane in this meta because of how much red and white is around, that it's a very sticky threat. Same thing with Axe Spider. If you're going to run into a lot of yellow, unless they have like a double exhaust nexus, right, it's really going to come up the board. And if you have like suppression or multiple blocks otherwise, it's very easy to shut off your opponent for multiple turns when you want to. Again, you're going to want them to ramp you a little bit because you are playing a more, top heavy, expensive white list with Mothership. But once Mothership comes online, you get to protect with Axe Spider. You have access to all your cores again. It's going to feel unstoppable. So this is what I'm at. I've gotten actually, once I started looking back through my DMs, I actually got a few different people messaging me. And full disclaimer, this might be the same people between Twitter, Discord, and Facebook that are messaging me all similar lists. But I have seen quite a few similar lists of this that I think now that it's out in the open and now that people are going to be aware of it, I would test against this for Ohio. There is a lot of people who I know that, at least in the Discord, after seeing this and talking about it yesterday, who are very excited about this because Axe Spider Mothership is just such a cool feeling combo to pull off when you do it. Obviously, I was working on a similar list 2 weeks ago, I think now, way more spirit heavy. So obviously not fully in on the turbo Mothership plan, but working towards a list that feels good, that allows you to really abuse the best part of Mothership. Now, again, keep in mind, the feels bad of this is always going to be that it is very core heavy between Axe Spider and Mothership. And then on top of that, right, drawing that second Mothership feels beyond awful, right? I was playing 3, I think, and then I cut back down to 2 in my initial list. And then even when I was playing 2, like drawing that second one where like you just needed literally any body or spell can feel pretty backbreaking sometimes. But I think this list is absolutely more refined. Obviously, it's way better than the pile that I posted. I'm not trying to say that my pile was good. Like that was the early versions of it, right? But I think if you really want to kind of live that dream of the Axe Spider and Mothership combo, this is definitely more of where you want to be. And then, of course, there's a different white, more mid-range control list with Axe Spider that you just play for it being a good card. So I'm very curious to see what other Nexus cards we get for white in set 2, because I think that there will most likely be something better than Mothership that we want to protect, or at least I have to assume that there is. So I definitely am looking forward to revisiting this list. And with that, we have the top 16 coverage. Again, all these will be on Eggman's website. And of course, a huge shout out once more to Aspira for getting us the top cut lists and some very spicy stuff in here. Now, again, I think with how late we are, 4 months into this meta, I think we are going to see a lot more Rex, a lot more purple mid-range or purple control pop up, but there are some other variants that can, squeeze in there. So a lot more grand opens to come over the following weeks leading into the set 2 launch. And of course, I will be getting back to some videos. We're going to try to record the other grand open sometime today so I can get out both videos. But for now, I just want to make sure this one can get taken care of and make sure we can start getting those lists out there to the community so you can start brewing, start playing, start having fun with it. So with that, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in for another Battle Spirits Saga video. As always, please make sure to like and subscribe for future content, because yes, I am going to get back on my Battle Spirits grind, and there's going to be a lot of talk about spoilers in the very, very near future. So with that, I hope you have a wonderful start of your week. Be safe, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next Battle Spirits Saga video. Cheers.